This is the first video for this course, and it will be like an introduction video where we'll be introducing ourselves to the course as a whole. The title for this course is Social Work, and this is Module 1. The title that we'll be treating in this module is Introduction to Social Work. Just like I have said initially, that this module is just there to introduce ourselves. It's just as an introduction part to the course. We'll be introducing ourselves to social work, who is a social worker, the meaning of social work itself, and the objectives and the likes as a social work. It is this module will enlighten our knowledge about social work. It will also introduce us to some basic features and objectives of social work. What does it mean to be a social worker and the likes? These are the things that we'll be seeing in this module. And this is just like I've mentioned initially, that this is the first video for this course. Although we'll be having 10 different modules, which implies that we will also have 10 different videos like this. This is the first video, and I will urge you to follow the lecture efficiently. Now let's move on to the contents of the module. What are those subtopics and topics that we'll be treating under this introduction to social work? There are other subtopics that we'll be looking at, which is very cogent and important to this module and this course as a whole. Now, the contents of the module, we have one, we'll be looking at the concept and definition of social work. Just like I have said initially, that we'll be introducing ourselves to social work. We'll define social work. Definition of social work is very important. Then after that, we'll move on to the objectives of social work. When we are done with the objectives of social work, we'll also look at the principles and philosophy of social work. Then after that, we'll move on to the roles and responsibilities of social workers, where we'll be looking at the necessary responsibilities, what we are expecting from being a social worker, introduce us to who is a social worker is, and what we expect from a professional social worker. What are those things that they need to do? Introduce ourselves to that. Then after that, we'll move on to the key concepts of social work. And finally, for this module, we'll be treating the final subtopic will be social development and reform. So that's that about the topics that we'll be looking at in this module. And we have the introduction of the module to be that it is important to know that professional social workers, they are there to help people to restore, in order to restore or improve their capacity for social functioning. At the same time, they also create societal conditions that is favorable to their goals. And what is this goal that we are talking about? The goal, the main aim and objective, the main focus of a social worker is to restore or improve the capacity of social functioning. That's the main aim. Although there might be other difficulties and all, but their main aim is to improve their capacity for social functioning. So at the same time, they will create societal conditions. Well, this societal condition is just a conducive society that is favorable to individuals and even the social workers in order to achieve their goals. So now let's move on. That the knowledge of human behavior and social, economic, and cultural institutions is necessary to practice social work. This is just us trying to tell us the necessary skills and expectations that is necessary to practice social work. Social work is a practice-based profession and an academic discipline dedicated to promoting social change, development, social cohesion, and the empowerment and liberation of people. So according to the global definition endorsed by the International Federation of Social Workers, that's the IFSW, and the International Association of Schools of Social Work, IASSW, they define the principle of social justice, human rights, collective responsibility, and respect for diversity as central to the field. Now, what we are just trying to introduce to ourselves in this module is that social work is not just any other profession, but is a profession that is there to balance our societal conditions. So it is very essential and important. It is expected that only the professional at the field are expected to carry out the work efficiently. And also, we are trying to introduce to us that social work it has to do with practical aspects. It is not just any work that is theory driven, but in this aspect it is practical based, it is practice based, and it also require academic discipline. There are some kind of disciplines that needs to be achieved, that needs to be backed before you can be a social worker. You can't just any other person cannot be a social worker. There are some necessary discipline that needs to be acquired. Now let's move on to the concept and definition of social work. What does it mean by what does social work mean? So when we're talking about social work, it has been defined and understood variously by social work scientists from Nigeria and abroad, from Africa and the diaspora. So some of the definition of social work are cited below. So let's let's pick one of these definition where we have Alice Cheney 1926. Yeah, according to Alice, he stated that social work includes all the voluntary attempts to extend benefits in response to the needs which are concerned with social relationship and which avail themselves of scientific knowledge and methods. And according to Alice, what Alice is trying to explain here is that social work include all the attempts which are voluntary in spirit. Social work is not something that is compulsory. It is voluntary. It has to do with it is spirit based, and it mainly comes voluntarily. It includes the voluntary attempts to be able to extend different benefits to the people which are concerned with, and to the people or individuals, mostly the vulnerables that are concerned with social relationship and which avail themselves of scientific knowledge and method. These are people that are expected. So in social work, Cheney, and that's Alice Cheney, has included all attempts which are voluntary in spirit and scientific in nature, but the author seems to have ignored the public practice of social work that is voluntary and involuntary in nature. That's like just what I have said. Now let's move on to the objectives of social work. There are several objectives of social work where we have as much as possible, but some of them that are generally or universally accepted are as follows. Don't forget that I mentioned that we have several objectives of social work, but the ones that we are going to list here are the ones that are mostly or universally accepted. Left to you might see other objectives from your angle or from your point of view or from your perspective or from any textbook or writing materials that you've read that is also related that might not be here. But it is important to know that these ones here are just the ones that we feel like, sorry about that, are just the ones that we feel like it is that is universally and generally accepted, that everybody can easily agree to. So some of these objectives include: one, we have one of the objectives of social work is to solve psychosocial problems. Anything that has to do with any problem that has to do with social and psychology, social work is there to solve it in one way or the other. So it is just as the work, the profession name implies, social work, it has to do with any form of problem that has to do with social gathering or socially. So now it is also there to one of the objectives is that we also benefit from solving psychosocial problems. Now another objective of social work is to fulfill humanitarian needs like love, affection, care, etc. Just like we've mentioned while trying to define social work, that it is a voluntary task and act for our profession. So before you can be able to offer these services, social services, it's one of the requirements is that the such person will be an individual that cares and is ready to pass affection to everybody, irrespective of their background, their gender, their condition, and all. So now to fulfill, and this will drive us to these objectives that social work is there to fulfill humanitarian needs like love, affection, is there to promote and fulfill humanitarian needs. Now another objective of social work is to solve adjustment issues. That's another objective of social work. Solving adjustment issues, any issues that need to be adjusted socially, social work is there to solve that. And another objective under social work is to create self-sufficiency. If we look at it very well, we can easily agree to this, that social work is there to create self-sufficiency, being able to have the ability to be sufficient alone on your own. Social work is there by helping, mainly, when we talk about social, it's just about helping people or helping the society socially. So socially, to be self-sufficient socially. So now is one of the objectives of social work. Another objective of social work is to make and strengthen harmonious social relations, just as we mentioned initially in our previous subtopics, that it is social work is there to strengthen social relationship, social not just any social relation but harmonious one. Now finally, under the universally accepted objective of social work, we have it is also there to make provision of corrective and recreational services. Now let's move on to the next subtopic for this module, which is the principles and philosophy of social work. So when I'm talking about social work as a profession, it mainly focuses on addressing psychosocial issues. Don't forget that we mentioned that in our objectives. Now it is there to mainly address or solve psychosocial issues and challenges that may arise in interactions between individuals and their social environments. So while such problems have always existed in society in different angles, in various perspectives, social work gained a scientific foundation only toward the end of the 19th century. In earlier times, people facing distress, poverty, or deprivation received support from extended family, caste-based community, and religious institutions. So when we look at it very well, what we're trying to establish here is that before this recent generation, this recent period, where we have different social workers, many social workers out there with disciplines and with academic backgrounds that is supporting their career and profession. People that are, mainly social workers are there to help people that are in the vulnerable individuals that are passing through one issue socially or psychologically out there, to be able to become to balance themselves with the social condition. Now, people that does this initially were mainly people from extended families, caste-based community, and religious institutions. But now, if we look at it, it has extended to a profession-based work. Now, ultimately, social work aims to help. So we're talking about philosophy, and philosophically, social work is there to help individuals, to help families, to help groups and communities in resolving their personal and social difficulties permanently through structured professional interventions. Now let's move to the next subtopic now, which is roles and responsibilities of social worker. We are trying to introduce ourselves to social work. So being a social worker, what are those roles and responsibilities that are expected from a social worker? Well, social worker is just a professional individuals with traceable background of professionalism academically in the world of social work, and they play a vital role in supporting individuals, in supporting families, groups, and communities to overcome challenges, to enhance well-being, and promote social justice. Their work is guided by professional ethics, such as those outlined by the National Association of Social Workers (NASW) and the International Federation of Social Workers, that's the IFSW, emphasizing principles like service, dignity, human relationships, integrity, competence, and respect for human rights. So below are the main roles and responsibilities of social worker that we can easily trace and relate to. We have one: to be social workers help people who are facing difficult situations such as poverty, illness, or family problems. This is not longer a news. This shouldn't be a news to us again, because we have mentioned this over and over again while in the previous subtopics that we've been able to justify. Social workers, they are mainly there to help people who are facing difficult situations, who are facing problems socially. So such as these difficulties could be poverty, could be illness, or family issues. And secondly, they are also there to assess the needs of individuals, needs of families or communities, to understand what kind of support is required. It is not just about rendering support to people or to individuals it is about knowing what they need, knowing the kind of support that is required, that is necessary for different people. Someone that is passing through depression, you can't just go there and trying to help by giving him or her money, because what he or she is going to is different from the kind of solution that you are rendering to the individual. Although money might also be the issue, but in most cases, it is not money. So they are there to assess the needs of individuals, families, to understand what kind of support is necessary for them. And third, one of another roles of responsibilities of social worker is that they create plans to provide services like counseling, housing, or financial assistance. Just like I've said before, that they are there to provide services like counsel. They counsel, they house, they provide financial assistance, they provide support to individuals with societal problems. Now let's move on to the key concepts of social work. Social work has developed into a recognized profession with a structured theoretical foundation, professional authority, societal approval, a code of ethics, and distinct professional culture. Yet social work goes beyond the mere trade learned through apprenticeship, as the core aim of social work is to empower individuals to resolve their issues and achieve self-reliance. Uh, Now let's look at when we're talking about key concept of social work. We have social services, we have social welfare, and the likes. Now let's speak social service now. Social services, it is a professional and academic discipline that is dedicated to improving the quality of life and well-being of individuals, groups, or communities through research, policy development, and community organization. While on the other hand, social welfare refers to efforts by individuals, communities, and organizations to ensure basic standards of living and equal opportunities for everyone. And there is difference in these two concepts. Social service is the service that is rendered, while social welfare is just efforts and by individuals or community to ensure that the basic standard that people are well satisfied. Now, in conclusion, social work stands as a vital profession and academic discipline that is committed to promoting social change, empowerment, and the enhancement of well-being for individuals, for families, for groups, and communities. Rooted in principles of social justice, human rights, collective responsibility, and respect for diversities, social work addresses psychosocial challenges. We have stated that in this course, in this module, through scientific methods, ethical practice, and a blend of voluntary and statutory interventions. Furthermore, the interconnected key concepts of social service, social welfare, social security, social defense, social justice, and social development, and reform they all illuminate social work comprehensive scope in building a resilient and inclusive society. So just like one last thing before we close, before we end this lecture for today, social work is not, we have been able to achieve in this introduction to social work that social work is not just any profession that anybody can easily barge into, or just that although it is voluntary, it is a voluntary work, and it is a practical based work, but then it is very important that some necessary discipline are acquired before